All right, we are back, and there is Dr. Friday, technology back online for us. And I was asking you about the crazy murder hornet. You haven't seen any of those, have you?
I haven't, but I do like honeybees, so I like honey, so I like to keep them going, and I know they can destroy the whole hive, so not a good thing.
Not a good thing. Well, listen, let's get to the issue at hand now. Okay. And again, I apologize to our viewers, but she's back online. We're going to get to your questions and comments, a lot coming in on the phone and on Facebook. But real quickly, you said there's an answer. The government's provided some clarification. We had a lot of questions for you about, hey, I have received a stimulus check for someone who has died. What do I do with it? Can I keep it? Let's answer that now with what you learned just overnight.
Right, and I'm going to have to recant what I had said before. If someone has passed away in the year of 2019 and you get a stimulus check for that person, if it's a paper check, you're supposed to write void on it. If it's a check that some people have, the check that's a joint check where you are getting $1,200 and the other $100, you still have to return these checks. If it's a direct deposit, you're supposed to issue a check back to the IRS for the $1,200, putting it as a refund to them. This is now on the Q&A under the IRS website for stimulus, so you can find addresses to where to mail those checks, but you're not supposed to keep the money if the person passed away in the year of 2019. If they passed away in 20, you are fine, but if they passed away in 2019, again, you need to return those funds.
Okay, and just so I'm clear then, you said with a check, what to do? What if the funds came into an account somehow, direct deposit? Maybe an account was still open. I don't know how, maybe, but some people had said they'd received it and saw it's in their bank account now.
Correct, and they are supposed to write a check back to the IRS as a refund. Yes.
I've got you. Okay, well, that's good to know. Clarify. Apparently, that's happened in several cases. One of the other questions before we get to some of more that I see coming in right now that carried over from last time you were on was the question on unemployment. And again, some new numbers came out today, and an awful lot of Tennesseans still seeking that. But with unemployment now, as they're beginning to reopen, what do you understand with regard to whether or not someone decides, yeah, my place of employment's open, but I still don't feel safe returning? If I don't, can I keep collecting unemployment, with the understanding that the whole issue of unemployment is to carry you on until you get another job, okay? And if your job's there and you don't take it, you're thinking, well, you're going to lose your unemployment. Do you believe that's the case here, both with the state money and the $600 from the federal government?
I do, and if you go right onto the IRS.gov, the workforce, the unemployment website, it specifically says if you have been offered a job and is a suitable job considered for you, you will lose your unemployment if you refuse that job. So if it's a suitable job, the problem comes in is how do they know a suitable job came to these employees? There is a weekly paper that you fill out for the state that tells them what jobs have you been offered, what suitability, why did you refuse the job is on there. And if you're telling the truth and your employer hired you back and you're not feeling safe, my understanding from the website is that is not going to be a reason to be able to refuse a job unless the job puts you in some sort of danger that you have small children at home, there's no one to watch them, the schools are closed. That's the kind of thing that the state is still accepting if you have no place to put your children. But not just because the job doesn't feel like you don't know if it's safe or not. That's not going to be an excuse, at least according to their website. They're going to see what's going to come of that, I guess.
I guess what's interesting about that, and it's true with any type of unemployment, it's whether or not someone can vet. I imagine most individuals are law-abiding, honest citizens, but if you choose not to include on that form that your place of employment's reopening, then you're saying, and I imagine in this pandemic with how staffing is so short anyway, you're saying they're not going to be able to really vet that and find out one way or the other. And so without knowing that, you would continue to receive the benefit.
That is correct. That is my understanding. Now, the other side of that is even if they don't catch you today, doesn't mean that I have cases where people have had to go back and pay back all of their unemployment because of issues that the state came back at them. You may get away with it at the moment. Doesn't mean that they won't find out later and make you pay it back.
Good point. Best to be honest in this case, because it will come back perhaps to get you. Okay, let's get to some of the questions here. Latoya is asking, she has a child, 17 years old. Does that mean that, one, could that child, if he's worked and is not a dependent, receive a stimulus check? And if not, and he is a dependent, can she, at age 17, get the $500 in her stimulus?
No, if he's 17, right, only if he has worked and you do not claim him as a dependent would he get the full $1,200. Otherwise, you would get the $500 on your tax return as an other dependent. That's an automatic. After the age of 16, at 17, it's $500. 16 would be $2,000.
Okay, and just off the top of your head from Deborah, can you explain the various reasons why perhaps someone who is waiting for it and is qualified is not getting or has not yet received their stimulus payment? Different reasons.
Yes, well, a couple different reasons would be married filing separately, both returns weren't filed. The situation where you may have filed a tax return. One case I have, they've got an audit going on their 2019 return, so they're holding all refunds at the moment. Even though this money can't go against it, they may, when they audit this person, may find out that they made more than the $50,000 or whatever you're allowed to make, up to that dollar amount. So they're holding everything. There would be cases where if you were a dependent in 2018 but not in 19, and maybe you filed your 19, but they were still not looking at those years, because the initial ones were almost all issued with instant people that filed their tax returns in January and February for 19. All the rest of them were almost based on 18 filings. So a lot of times they're holding some of these because maybe you were close. Maybe there was something that was turned in on 18 that they're waiting to see if 19 is going to be filed. Keep in mind that the IRS website specifically says they will be issuing stimulus checks all the way out to the month of September.
Right. Some people could be waiting that long. That's a great answer. As far as Kathleen wondering, how long will that extra $600 from the federal government on unemployment continue? Remember, I think the original announcement was 13 weeks, right? And we believe, Dr. Friday, it's going to expire in July?
Yes, that's my understanding. The end of June, 1st of July is when that's supposed to expire.
Okay, and then as far as we know, it's not going to be replaced unless something new happens in Congress, so that's where it will end. Let's take a few phone calls for you. We've got Bridget. Bridget, good morning. Hi, Bridget. What's your question?
Good morning. I had a question about my return. I got my stimulus packet, but I still haven't received my return. So it's like something I should be worried about, or is it just...
So you had applied for your return, and you already received the stimulus check, but not yet her tax return.
Yeah, I did my return in February.
In February is when she filed her return. Oh. Yeah.
Did she file it with an electronic refund or with a check refund?
Did you file it for a check refund, or are you getting an electronic refund?
Electronic.
Electronic.
So I would say that she's probably being held up because of a match of income. The IRS now tries to match all of our W-2s and 1099s. There's a possibility one of your employers did not file the W-2s on time, so that they're basically holding your refund to make sure they can verify that that was really your earnings. That's my understanding why some of these are being held up. I'm surprised you didn't get a letter saying that they were reviewing your taxes. But again, the IRS has been overwhelmed, lack of a better term, these last couple months. So everything is being delayed a bit.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't worry yet.
Okay, so hang in there. Let's go next to Loy. Loy, good morning. Do you have a question or comment, Loy? Go ahead.
Yes. I was wondering, I've been looking at the IRS.gov coronavirus and everything to see what I need to do, because I received an SSDI check on direct deposit on my, I call it a Wally card. It's a Walmart card. And I've been receiving it for almost 10 years that way. And I just wondered, I've not received my stimulus check. Is there something I need to do?
Okay, Dr. Friday, we can answer that for her.
We can. Just make sure that your address is correct with the IRS. They will not most likely put that onto your Wally card. They're going to want to mail you the stimulus check. And again, people on SSI, those were just being issued this last week or two here. So those checks are just starting to come out to individuals on SSA and SSI. My understanding is it will not go directly onto your Wally card.
Okay, and I guess if that's the case, it's going to be mailed. She needs to be certain, and they probably do, that they have an address for her, correct? And if there's a question of the address, or you've moved since you've last had contact with the IRS, what should you do?
Well, if she's able to get on the IRS website and look under her information, she can update her address there. Otherwise, she needs to mail in the 8822 to go, or contact the Social Security Administration, since this is coming through them to a point, making sure that they have the right address. Because so many people, when they're getting everything electronically, they forget to update their address as they move around, because the money's still coming in because they're not changing bank accounts even if they've moved.
Okay.
So they do need to confirm that the SSA or SSI has the proper address.
All right, and that was a good question from Loy. Several of those coming in on Facebook as well. And so just so you're clear, Loy, you qualify. You're going to get a check, but because you get it on a Wally card direct deposit, the government's not going to send it to that card. You're going to get a paper check in the mail, and you'll want to make sure they have the address to send that to you. That's how that'll work. All right, let's see. We've got several people asking the question. You and I, neither of us know the answer to this, though I think we both suspect there will not be a second stimulus check, at least not in the near future. A lot of people already, of course, have spent the money of the first one that received it. But as it stands right now, there's not going to be a second stimulus check on the books, at least not until, at the very earliest, until the fall, if Congress looks at that.
Right. I mean, I think they're waiting to find out, since all the stimulus hasn't even been delivered yet. They're waiting to find out how this is going to help improve the economy. But I think they first have to have all of that delivered, tax returns and refunds issued, before they look at a second stimulus. Right.
And of course, with things slowly reopening. So do not be sitting there banking on a second check. There is not one coming, at least not right now. Let's go next to Michael. Michael, good morning. What's on your mind, Michael?
My question is, we're talking about going back to work, and if I feel that it's unsafe. If there's some people in there with the virus, and they're still coming out, and I feel that I don't want to go in there and take that chance, because we're talking about my life, why would I not be able to get unemployment? That's a threat to my life.
Well, it's a great question, but the question is, first, employers are going to be doing things differently. You say someone's working with that. Right now, they're taking temperatures, they're providing gowns, they're providing gloves, they're providing masks. So they're giving you every opportunity to keep safe, and even keeping that 6 feet apart everywhere you go. I mean, even in line at Starbucks, there's little steps that tells us we're all 6 feet apart. So the employers are going to be doing 100% better than probably what they did before. So I think you will have a harder time saying that they aren't providing you a safe workplace, is what they're trying to come back with on that. Again, it's going to be up to every individual. If you feel completely at risk, I don't know if you'll qualify for unemployment, but I would understand you possibly not wanting to go to that particular job. Maybe you can find another one.
Yeah, some people have some tough choices to make, but you're exactly right. A lot of these employers are supposed to take steps. I've heard from folks saying that they've had employers that appear not to, but let's be real clear on this. If you know for a fact that anyone at your place of employment is there working and they actively have coronavirus, that's something that you need to report, and that will be taken care of. Under no circumstance should that happen. No one should be at work that has it. The problem is there are some people that are asymptomatic. You never know. That's why you take the precautions. But if you know someone has it, I mean, that's not even just an issue for you deciding not to go to work. That should be reported to authorities, and that employer should get hammered if they knowingly know someone is coming to work sick, and allow that. If that's happening, that, in my opinion, is criminal. So I don't know of that happening, but the problem is you have to make some choices for yourself, but employers hopefully will take steps. Masks, social separating, making sure to clean everything like they're doing here at News Channel 5. I'm at the studio right now, Dr. Friday. You've been here. I come in every day. I'm one of the handful that do. Most of the crew here works from home now, and they're doing a great job with that. But I do not feel unsafe coming to the station. There's a cleaning crew here every day. We keep social separation. There's usually just me and one other person in the entire newsroom. That's safe. All right? So you have to make decisions for yourself.
If you were feeling sick, you didn't feel healthy, you would not go into work in fear, even if it wasn't, maybe you just had, cold, whatever. Everyone has to be much more cautious of taking anything with you to work. So, I mean, everyone needs to be accountable too. You need to be able to step back and say, hey, you know what, my nose is running, I'm feeling a little hot. Maybe I stay home today, even if this isn't the corona, it's still not safe for my people I'm working with.
Exactly. Looking out for them. This person may have just joined us again. Her spouse, and I'm sorry for her loss. Sandley's asking, he died in April of 2019. Do I have to return his portion of the stimulus? And the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Do not keep that, and if you don't, they're going to know it, and they're going to come get it at some point down the road, correct?
Right. And then you could end up with having to pay penalties and interest on money that was given to you in mistake. You know, again, guys, this wasn't a perfect system. The IRS is truly trying their best to get the money as fast and as securely to people as they can. There's a lot of people that say, I haven't gotten the money for my children yet, even though they're under the age. Again, if that happened to you, the IRS will not be mailing you a second check. They're saying you'll be getting that money on your 2020 returns. It's just that every year so much changes. People die, people get married, people have children. And so trying to use a single year for taxes to determine if you qualify or not is just a really hard thing to do for the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay. And quickly here, April says, my sister claimed me on her taxes. I'm on SSI. I haven't received a check. Will I get one? She will not, because she's been claimed as a dependent. If you're a dependent, you do not get a check.
That's correct.
Pretty simple answer there. All right, let's go to Mr. Woods, I believe. Hello, Mr. Woods. Go ahead. Are you there, sir?
I'm okay, sir. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering about unemployment because my job called me back and told me that we'll be back open next week, and I've been waiting for like a month and 2 weeks. Will we still get the back pay even though once we start going back to work next week?
So, I was thinking the same thing. Great question. I mean, he hasn't, because of the system, it's taken forever for him to get it. And now, finally, after a month and a half of him barely getting by, he's getting his job back, which is good. But doesn't he deserve that back money?
He does. It's my knowledge he will be getting it as soon as, yes, they will continue to process it. And then as of your hire date, they'll cancel it, but you will still be entitled. Everything I understand, you will be entitled to the period that you initially should have gotten it up to the date that you went back to work.
And would you imagine that would come at that point? If it sounds like 6 weeks or so for him, it would be a lump sum?
Yes, it would just be a lump sum, and then after that, it would normally be a weekly thing. But in his case, you know, he'll be back at work, so tough thing. But good that he's getting back to work.
Yeah, that's good for him to get back to work, but it'll be good for him too, as surviving to this point. He's going to get a chunk of change, and if he was getting the 600 plus maybe 200, that's 800 a week. That's a good amount of money he may be getting, and I bet a lot of other people in the same boat as him. They've been waiting. Now the jobs come back. They're going to get money if they qualified for the time they were off. They should. We'll take a break on that note. If you're on hold, stay there. If you're going to join us on Facebook at newschannel5.com, message us. Dr. Friday's terrific. She'll be back answering more of your questions right after this. Stay with us.
Storm 5 weather update.